Welcome back to another episode of Revealed Abundance. We mentioned yesterday that we were going to talk about prophecy again today, and kind of what it looks like to us today and how you can operate in it and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. We're going to open our Bibles to 1 Corinthians 14, and we're going to read verse 3. It says, "But one who prophesies strengthens others, encourages them, and comforts them." That phrase right there, strengthen, comforts, encourage. Or you hear, edifies, exhorts, and comforts are the words that are translated there. And that's actually mentioned 7 times in the New Testament. So, prophecy is encouragement, it's comfort, it's strengthening. Is it pulling out sins?
I sure hope not.
No. So maybe some of you have experienced where, someone who says, "Oh yeah, I prophesy," and they talk about, "Well, I'll know everything that you do wrong," or they'll say, "I know what sins you've done," or, "Are you dabbling in this?" That's not really what prophecy is, and that's not how we want to prophesy, because we want to edify, we want to comfort, and we want to strengthen people. We don't want to tear them down. And the reality is that we don't need to expose anyone's sins, because people already know what they do wrong, in my experience.
We know the wounds that we have. Like, we don't need somebody to sit there and poke a wound and go, "You have a wound right there." We're like, "Yes, we know." Thank you.
Right. And, if you don't know that something's going on, then God's gonna, grab your attention and take care of it. And so, sometimes in prophecy, God might reveal something, but it's never to expose or to shame, or it's always to be used to help get that person healthier, to make them feel better, or to strengthen them, or to edify them, or exhort them. So that's really how we operate in prophecy.
Well, and to simplify, just keep it real simple. Prophecy isn't some weird mystical, crazy thing. It's hearing what the Lord has to say about a person and telling them.
Right.
And the truth is, God, what He's saying to everyone in this world is nothing but love, nothing but care and kindness, because that's who He is. That's how His nature is. That's why He is love, So everything He's saying to somebody is going to fall under, what is it? 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter, all those things that it says love is, that's what it's going to sound like when He wants to talk to somebody.
Right.
It's going to sound like that.
Right.
So that person should always walk away feeling better about themselves.
Absolutely. And sometimes when you get over, last episode we talked about how, sometimes because we've learned different things, or we heard different things, and sometimes it creates fear, and we don't want to get things wrong, but it's okay to get things wrong, because that's how you learn, and you're not a false prophet, you're just learning. And so if you missed that one, go back and watch that one so you can grab the context.
We'll put a link in the description for you.
Yeah. And then what's really interesting is a previous episode we had talked about the Good Samaritan, and how the priest and Levites are can represent maybe some leaders in our lives, or pastors, maybe, possibly, being that they don't have a lot of time to sit next to someone and prophesy into their life, because they're so busy doing church stuff. But we, the saints, can do that, and how the Lord told me that, the Samaritan, that's like a saint, that's like what you are. And it was really interesting, because as I was listening to that over again, I just felt like the Lord was saying, when we give someone a word, or when somebody's hurting spiritually, and we give them a word, we dress their wounds, we do everything we can to help them, we bring them to the innkeeper. And I just felt like the Lord was saying, when you bring them to the innkeeper, you're bringing them to me. And when you bring them to me, he says, like, you can let go. Like, your responsibility is now done. You don't need to make anything happen. You don't need to make them receive your word. You just give the word. Whether they receive it or not is not your job. You get to, what is God saying? You get to find out, what is God saying? You get to speak what God is saying. And then you get to let go. And then let God, who's the innkeeper, take care of that person. And, maybe if you have a built-up relationship with someone, like Susie and I, we have a built-up relationship where we hold each other accountable, which is to hold each other accountable to our abilities, not things that we don't want to do or sins. No, I get to hold her up to, remember that awesome thing that you do? You get to be like that, and you get to do this. And so we get to do that with each other's lives. And when we are holding each other accountable, we could probably come back like in the Good Samaritan, where he says he left him with the innkeeper, and then he said, in a couple of days I'll come back. If I need to give you more money, I will. There might be some things like that where we have relationship, and so we can, keep...
We can check in on each other.
Yeah, we can check each other, check out our abilities, and, what is God doing? How is he doing? What did he say with that word? And stuff like that. But as far as our responsibility goes, once we give the word, we back off and we let the person have their relationship with the Lord and deal with the word that they were given.
And the truth is, if it's a word from God, it's going to happen. There's no way you can make it happen. There's no way the other person can make it happen. It's going to happen because it's from God. Now there is a portion of the receivers. There's a little bit of responsibility they have to steward a prophetic word, to pray into it and hear what God has to say, to discern it, and then walk out the steps that God gives. But it is ultimately God's word that does the work. It is not us. It is not the person who gave the word. It's God. And he's better at it than we are anyway.
Right. So we just wanted to give you a few tips and some things that we've learned, that prophecy is edifying, comforting, and encouraging all the time. In fact, one thing that's really interesting in here is that we never really see the prophecy being used as confirmation. And that's something that in today's age, they'll say, oh, that's very confirming, which is really great, and that it's not bad, it's really good for it to be confirming, but the Bible doesn't actually mention prophecy to be confirming. It just, mentions prophecy as being encouraging, comforting, and edifying. So although it can confirm, and it often does, it doesn't actually say that in the Word.
Right.
So, and then, just know that when you do give a word, that it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to get things wrong. And you'll get things right too. And you'll start to learn, and you'll get better and better. And you'll start getting to be right more often, which is really fun. And then, and then the last thing is that when you give a word, that you can, once you give the word, you can release that word to them, and that you don't have any more responsibility with that. That doesn't mean that you don't have responsibility to, still hold somebody to their ability. It just means you don't need to make it happen, force it to happen, or to make somebody receive it. We don't do that either. So I hope I'm being clear.
Right. And before we go, I really feel like Alicia should just pray for an impartation for anybody out there who wants to prophesy.
Yeah. So, I'm going to do two things. First, I'm going to I feel like I'm speaking to a gentleman who has walked very close with the Lord and has really loved the Lord, and has, like, he's just really mighty with the Lord. I just see him as a really mighty warrior for the Lord. And he has done things for the Lord, like in church and in ministry, but I feel like because some things didn't go the way that he wanted them to go in his life, that caused him some hurt and some pain. I feel like this person has kind of drawn back and has kind of said, I'm not going to do that anymore, because of this, because of the reason why he drew back. And I feel like the Lord is saying, hey, the time is now. I don't disapprove of you. I love you. You are completely restored. You're completely covered in me. It's that when you fall down, he's a good dad. He pats the dirt off and he's like, let's do it again. And I feel like the Lord is inviting you to be brave, to be strong, to be vulnerable, and to let's do it again with him. So I hope that touches someone out there. And I will just pray for you right now. God, I just thank you that you're a good dad. And we just thank you for prophecy. We just release prophecy over anyone who's watching this that wants it. We ask that you just give it in a greater depth, that they would begin to hear you more, that they begin to see you more, and that they begin to understand the way that you speak to them even more. We just thank you for all the wonderful things that you are, Father, and we just thank you for the good gifts, and we just know that when we ask, you will give. And so we just thank you for that in Jesus. All right.
Give us a like and a subscribe or share. We really appreciate it, and we're really blessed by everyone who watches us. We just really thank God for you. And thanks.